Hello, welcome everybody. We're Orbis Intersect. Today we are going to be talking about body dysmorphia with Elias here. So yeah, Elias, take it away, introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and yeah, all of that.
Okay, hello, my name's Elias. I'm currently studying fine art. I live in London and I'm 22, and I'm here to talk about body dysmorphia and my experiences of that and how they relate to the fact that I'm a transgender man. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Cool. So I wanted to ask, to someone who might not be aware, what is body dysmorphia?
Okay, so body dysmorphia is like basically perceptual distortions of yourself. So when you look in the mirror, you'll see your reflection, but how you then sort of perceive what you're actually looking at will be distorted by ideas about self-worth, or maybe like your general body confidence, ideas that we absorb through media, that type of thing. So quite a typical example is someone who is a healthy weight may perceive themselves as being bigger or smaller than they actually are. And that can affect your confidence and your self-image.
Yeah, absolutely. When did you personally start, feel uncomfortable in your own skin, and like, how did it feel like? Did you perhaps like underestimate it because maybe you were younger, so you're like, oh, maybe, it's a phase, or people around you, and yeah, things like that?
Because I'm trans, I've always felt quite like strange in being in my own body, and I always felt there wasn't something quite right when I looked at it or thought about certain features that I had, that type of thing. So for me, it's been from quite a young age. But I think the usual onset for someone with just body dysmorphia who isn't trans is around puberty age. But for me, it was much younger. I think probably 5 or 6 that I started getting those feelings and thinking that there wasn't something quite right.
So what did you, like, how did you feel back then? Did you feel like it was something that was gonna probably last, I don't know, just a few months? Or did you feel like, oh, this is really overwhelming for me? Or again, did you underestimate it and be like, all right, maybe I'll just let it go and let's see what happens?
I think I did underestimate it. I think when you're quite young, you don't really have a conception of emotions and time, and how the length of an emotion can cause it to feel more and more overwhelming. I think as a child, I probably was quite dismissive of what I was experiencing because of that. But I think it became quite a big thing because it just kept going on and on and on, and there was no moment where it sort of went away for a while. It was there a lot of the time, and I think that eventually sort of took over a lot of my headspace, and started really affecting how I felt about myself, which I think is not something you would expect of a young child. You wouldn't expect them to have such a conscious idea of what they look like. I think that's not something we've sort of assumed that children have, but I actually think that's probably a bit more common than people realize.
Yeah.
Did you decide to reach out for help or talk to anyone about it?
I think it came through when I was young. It must have come through in my behavior, because my parents could tell that I was quite anxious all the time, and that I felt quite uncomfortable in social situations because of that. I don't know if they attributed it to that, but when I was older, I started struggling with eating disorders quite a lot because of these like weird distortions, these weird ideas I had about myself, because that's like a very unhealthy but quite direct way of like controlling the problem. And I think around that time, I also was starting to become quite depressed probably as a result of this, but I didn't necessarily link the two in my head. So I definitely reached out for help with that, and that led on to sort of me realizing that I had a problem, and it wasn't my body, it was these ideas I had around it.
That's very interesting. So could you mentioned your perception about yourself when you were like really, really young. Could you tell us the differences you feel in yourself between, you know, before your transition and after your transition? So when you were like really young and be like, oh my God, this is really weird, it's overwhelming, it's lasting more than I thought it should have. And then after transitioning, how did you feel about your body and your image and, you know, your perception about it?
So when I was really, really young, I don't think I was thinking about gender, but because other people were, excuse me, because when you're put in a school environment, you're expected to use male and female toilets. I think that was probably something that triggered a lot of the discomfort in me because of the kind of confusion around that and this like sudden and quite harsh introduction to these concepts that obviously I had an idea what boys and girls were, but it's so like binary when you enter an institution. And I guess I just reacted quite strongly against that. Then going into puberty, when I started getting more distinctive female features, I guess, that was really difficult. That was, you know, there was a lot of like trying to cover my body up, trying to sort of like hide things, being really confused about like my sense of style, which doesn't seem that important, but it surprisingly, it really is. That can really affect your mental health. You know, worrying constantly about how I was being perceived by other people. And now after I've started testosterone and also come out socially, I've been out for quite a while now socially, and I've been using different pronouns and a new name for like 7 years now. That's a lot of that has been alleviated. I feel a lot more comfortable. My voice has deepened, which is kind of like a weird part of your body because it's not like a physical thing that you can see, but you know, yeah. People definitely will clock that about you, so that, you know, in a way becomes like a big part of my body. And yeah, I mean, for me it's just been about like, it's weird really, because sometimes I think like maybe it's not to do with my body, maybe it's to do, I mean, it is obviously to do with the projections that other people apply to you, but yeah, I guess I've been, I don't know, I just feel a lot more free in what I can wear and sort of how feminine I can be without sort of feeling like a girly girl, because that was something I always wanted to avoid. But now I don't really mind being girly or feminine because I know that I have like this solid base of masculinity holding it up, so I feel more comfortable. I just feel more comfortable, that's it really.
Yeah, that's amazing. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like as a society we tend to, you know, put femininity and masculinity in like boxes and be like, okay, so that's feminine and that's masculine. And that's something that I guess the whole of the LGBTQ community goes through, because, you know, everyone is like, okay, so that's who I am and that's how people perceive me and that's how I have to be perceived in order for me to like fit in that box that people have put me. It's very tricky. It's very yeah, complicated, I guess, but it's good that you feel comfortable now compared to, you know, before. So
it's just a massive weight off my shoulders. Like, I kind of wish not all people could be trans, but all people could have some type of experience of a transition where they just like shake off all these assumptions and realize that there's a bit more to life than doing one thing or the other, because it's so much more fun as well when you can just like switch between the two as well, and you don't have to worry about it then, because like if you like deviate too far into one direction, then it doesn't matter if you do that, because it doesn't matter. Like it's just, I don't even think about it anymore. It's just so much more like peaceful.
Yeah, I bet that's really freeing as well. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So, did you get a diagnosis, or did you get any treatment or help for the body dysmorphia, or?
So I was diagnosed with a bunch of different types of eating disorders, which I think those were all attempting to like kind of deal with that. Um, I haven't really received treatment because I think when I went into treatment for like body image stuff and the eating disorder stuff, like um, it wasn't really dealing with the fact I was trans. It was just like trying to deal with the symptoms, the outcoming symptoms of that, and I just didn't feel like that was right. But I definitely like have been considering actually getting on with doing like a treatment plan. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Do you feel like because of COVID and because we're all stuck in the house and all of that, do you feel like it's worse during these times to, you know, look at yourself in the mirror and like, do you feel like you struggle more with it? And what would you say to people who are struggling, you know, with it in general and specifically right now, because, you know, we're all locked in the house and it's very, you know, tempting to look at yourself in the mirror because, you know, we're not really going out. So we put on weight, I guess. So that's probably one of the main things that people may struggle with. How do you feel about it? And what would you say to people who are struggling with it?
I mean, for me, it's definitely been like a struggle over lockdown. Because right before lockdown, I had a job where I did a lot of walking, a lot of days a week, and a lot of like lifting and moving around, and I was quite fit. And then I lost that job, and then COVID happened, so I was sort of like forced into this position of like I guess it like laziness basically. I didn't have a job. I, you know, was struggling to find anything really. I wasn't able to go out, and so yeah, you do end up just kind of like staring at yourself in the mirror. And I think it, for me, it was happening so many times a day. I was just getting fixated on staring at the mirror and like pulling at my body and like thinking, oh, this isn't right. This isn't right. You know, like I've never noticed this before. What the hell's going on? That kind of thing. And I think it all just blurs into one. So you can feel like you're spending so much time focusing on yourself, and then that you're just constantly thinking about like weird little, you know, imperfections you think you have all the time, and then that obviously affects your mood, which is already, you know, been affected by the whole lockdown situation. I think in terms of what I would suggest for other people, like what I've found has helped me is like actually covering mirrors, because if you can't look in the mirror, then you can't like pick at yourself and find things that you think are wrong. That is a really like direct way to just like kind of get rid of the problem. But around that, doing the exercise that we're allowed to do, like try and make yourself get out every single day, even if it's just for 20 minutes, like that. It sounds like kind of like boring and ineffective, but actually the effects of it build up over time. And also getting sun is good for you as well. Like that really makes a huge difference. And you know, not being too hard on yourself, I think, as well. Like, you know, I have gained weight over COVID, but I'm just sort of trying to like see it as almost a product of necessity rather than my ineffectiveness, because what, you know, I don't
Yeah,
know how to, yeah, but yeah.
that's a really, really good way of putting it. You know, it's just like, this is what happens, you know?
Yeah, you know, just like just accept it, and like just tell yourself you accept it. You don't even have to. I don't even actually think you really need to have like a sort of gentle acceptance inside of you. I think you can just sort of be like, no, I do accept it. It's okay. Like just tell yourself
Yeah.
that you're okay with it, and it almost eventually like will start getting through to yourself. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think we have to, with all mental illness, like most of them, I think we have to put ourselves in a like positive mindset and be like, no, you know, I'm stronger than this.
mm,
And, you know, you have to really convince yourself of that, because otherwise you get caught up in your head. So
yeah, like I do think that being kind to yourself is a good thing, but also sometimes you do, you know, sometimes I feel the two sides of my brain fight it out against each other. Like the one side is like, no, be nice to yourself, like self-care and all that kind of stuff, and then the other one is like, okay, but you can't just sit around feeling sad, like you need to just get up and go for a walk, and I always feel better afterwards. So generally, like a balance between the two is the best way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I read a book last year, and what the author was saying was, when you feel like you're stuck, when you feel like you're stuck in your mind or even like physically with things you're doing, just do something. Like do something. Don't just sit down and be like, all right, whatever. Just do something. Whatever that something is, it's gonna help you get through the first step, and then after that, you know, you're just gonna.
Yeah. I realize you don't need willpower or motivation to do things, because you can just do them anyway. Like that's like that's a really weird like idea, because like I think there's like quite a universal like idea of needing willpower and this kind of thing, but actually like you can just like force yourself to do things, which
Yeah.
I don't know if that, like, I'm not, you know, a mental health professional, but like I think I don't know, it works for me. So
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and see you next time. Bye.